In a world where fear often overshadows courage, how far would you go to protect your community? What if standing up against intimidation meant uniting your neighbors and discovering the true strength of love and resilience? 𝗓𝗓𝗬𝗪𝗓 faces the ruthless 𝗗𝗓𝗦𝗔𝗦𝗪𝗓, a gang that threatens her hometown's peace. With her son's military training echoing in her mind, she rallies her fellow vendors to stand strong against the looming threat. Will they reclaim their market and their sense of safety? Meet 𝗓𝗓𝗬𝗪𝗓, a devoted mother and fierce protector of her community. With a heart as big as her garden, she's not just a farmer, she's the glue that holds this market together. But when the 𝗗𝗓𝗦𝗪𝗓 threatens their peace, Linda must find the courage to stand up for what she believes in. This is Ryan Dupré, Linda's son. A military veteran trained to face danger head-on. Though miles away during the crisis, his lessons echo in Linda's heart, guiding her through the storm. Meet Sheriff Allen, the town's protector. With years of experience under his belt, he knows the dangers lurking beyond their peaceful town. He is determined to keep the community safe but struggles against the limitations of his authority. This is Mr. Harris, a beloved figure in the market. His wisdom and kindness have earned him respect from everyone around him. But when threats arise, he must decide whether to speak up or remain silent. These are Linda's neighbors, farmers and artisans who have poured their hearts into their work. They are more than just vendors, they are family. Together, they will learn that unity is their greatest strength. The 𝗗𝗓𝗦𝗪𝗓 rolled into Louisiana's farmers' market like a dark cloud, their presence casting a long shadow over the colorful stalls filled with fresh fruits and vegetables. The air buzzed with whispers of fear and uncertainty. People exchanged nervous glances, unsure of what this group meant for their peaceful community. The 𝗗𝗓𝗦𝗪𝗓 was known for their ruthless tactics and strong-arm methods, and their arrival sent a ripple of tension through the market. Amidst the chaos, Linda Dupré stood tall. She was not a woman to be easily intimidated. Her heart raced, but her resolve was stronger. As she watched the Legion members strut through the market, she felt a surge of determination. Linda had always been a protector, especially when it came to her family. Her son had served in the military, and he had taught her the importance of standing up for what is right, no matter how daunting the challenge. As the 𝗗𝗓𝗦𝗪𝗓 began to assert their control, demanding money from the vendors and threatening anyone who dared to resist, Linda felt a fire ignite within her. She remembered her son's words about courage and strength. He had faced danger with bravery, and she realized that she could do the same. The market buzzed with fear as people began to back away from the Legion members, but Linda took a step forward. She could feel the weight of their eyes on her, curious about what she would do next. In that moment, she understood that she held more power than she had ever realized. The secret of her son's military background was not just a piece of information, it was a source of strength that flowed through her veins. Linda's mind raced as she formulated a plan. She knew that if she could rally the other vendors and townsfolk, they could stand together against this threat. The thought of uniting everyone sparked hope in her heart. She glanced around at her neighbors, farmers, bakers, and craftsmen, all hard-working people who deserved to live without fear. With each passing moment, Linda felt more confident. She took a deep breath and began to approach the nearest vendor, an elderly man who had been selling vegetables for decades. She spoke to him quietly but firmly, sharing her thoughts about standing up against the Legion. He nodded slowly, his eyes widening with understanding. One by one, Linda reached out to others in the market. The initial fear began to fade as they listened to her words. They were tired of living in fear and wanted to reclaim their space. As more people gathered around Linda, she felt a sense of unity forming among them. They were no longer just individuals, they were a community ready to fight back. The Strike Legion noticed the shift in energy among the vendors and townsfolk. They exchanged glances, sensing that something was changing. Linda could see doubt creeping into their confident demeanor as they realized that not everyone would bow down to them. With each passing moment, Linda's voice grew stronger as she encouraged others to join her cause. They started to chant together, their voices rising above the murmur of uncertainty. The sound echoed through the market like a rallying cry against oppression. As they stood together, Linda felt an overwhelming sense of pride wash over her. This was not just about her anymore, it was about everyone who called this place home. They were ready to defend their community and protect what they loved. The Strike Legion began to lose their grip on power as more people joined Linda's side. Their intimidation tactics faltered in the face of collective strength and determination. The once fearful atmosphere transformed into one filled with courage and resolve. Linda knew that this was just the beginning of a long battle ahead, but for now, they had taken a stand together against those who sought to control them. The farmers' market had become a battleground for freedom and resilience, with Linda leading the charge. In that moment of unity and strength, Linda felt an unbreakable bond forming among her fellow vendors and townsfolk. They were no longer just individuals facing an overwhelming force, they were a united front ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. As tensions escalated between Linda's group and the Strike Legion, both sides prepared for what would come next. The air crackled with anticipation as everyone braced themselves for an inevitable clash between courage and intimidation. Linda stood at the forefront of her newfound allies, heart pounding with adrenaline as she prepared for battle. She knew that this fight would test them all in ways they never imagined possible. But deep down inside her heart burned a fierce determination fueled by love for her family and community, a determination that would guide them through whatever storm lay ahead. Linda stood resolute at the front of the crowd, her heart racing as she turned to the local vendors gathered around her. They were a mix of farmers, bakers, and craftsmen, each one looking to her for guidance. She knew they were scared, but she also sensed a flicker of hope igniting in their eyes. They needed to talk about the Strike Legion and what they could do next. As she began to speak, she felt the weight of their attention. She shared what she knew about the bikers' reputation. The Strike Legion was notorious for their intimidation tactics and their willingness to use violence to get what they wanted. Linda recalled stories of other towns that had faced similar threats, where fear had silenced the brave. She refused to let that happen here. Sheriff Allen stepped forward, his face serious. He had seen the damage the Legion could do. He spoke about how they had disrupted peace in other communities, leaving behind chaos and fear. The vendors listened closely, nodding in agreement as he shared his concerns. Linda felt a sense of unity forming among them as they acknowledged the threat together. In that moment, memories of her son Ryan flooded her mind. He had trained hard in the military, learning how to handle emergencies and protect those he loved. He had taught her about staying calm under pressure and thinking strategically when faced with danger. Linda remembered how he would say that preparation was key to overcoming any challenge. With that thought, Linda felt a surge of confidence. She shared Ryan's emergency protocols with the group, explaining how they could prepare themselves for a confrontation with the Legion. They needed to stay organized and work together. Each vendor had a role to play, from keeping watch to protecting their stalls and families. As she spoke, the atmosphere shifted. The customers who had been quietly observing began to voice their concerns. They expressed worry about what would happen if the bikers decided to escalate their intimidation tactics. The fear in their voices was palpable, but Linda saw something else too: determination. The crowd began to murmur among themselves, discussing what they could do as a community. They were tired of living in fear and wanted to take action. Linda felt a spark of hope ignite in her heart as she watched them rally together. She encouraged them to share their ideas and strategies. Some suggested forming a watch group to keep an eye on the market, while others proposed contacting local authorities for support. The more they talked, the more energized they became. Linda felt proud as she watched them come together, united by a common goal: to protect their home from the looming threat of the Strike Legion. It was clear that they were ready to fight back against fear and intimidation. As discussions continued, Linda's thoughts drifted back to Ryan again. She wished he were here with her now, guiding them through this challenge as he always had done before. But deep down inside, she realized that he had given her all the tools she needed to lead this fight. The vendors started making plans for how they would respond if the bikers returned. They decided on signals and codes so everyone would know what to do if trouble arose. With each idea shared, Linda felt her own resolve strengthen. The customers who had once been silent now joined in with suggestions and encouragement. They were no longer just bystanders, they were part of this movement too. Together, they formed a protective circle around their market, a barrier against fear. As time passed, Linda could see that their collective spirit was growing stronger by the minute. They were no longer just individuals worried about their own safety, they were a community ready to stand together against any threat. With renewed energy and purpose, Linda led them in preparing for whatever might come next. They gathered supplies and set up watch points around the market area, ensuring that everyone knew their role in case of an emergency. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement and determination as they worked together like a well-oiled machine. Linda felt proud watching her neighbors come alive with purpose. It reminded her of Ryan's training, how teamwork could overcome even the greatest challenges. As dusk approached, Linda took a moment to reflect on how far they had come since the Strike Legion's arrival earlier that day. What began as fear had transformed into courage and unity among friends and neighbors. But deep down inside her heart remained a flicker of worry about what lay ahead. She knew that confrontation with the bikers was inevitable. It was only a matter of time before they would test this newfound strength. Yet even amid uncertainty, Linda felt hopeful because she knew that together they could face anything thrown their way, because love for family and community was stronger than any threat that loomed over them. As night fell over Louisiana's farmers' market, Linda stood ready at the forefront of her united group, a beacon of hope shining brightly against the darkness surrounding them, prepared for whatever came next in this battle for their home. The night deepened, and the air grew thick with anticipation. Linda stood with her allies, their faces illuminated by the dim glow of market lights. They were ready, but the tension was palpable. She could feel it in her bones. The Strike Legion would not back down easily. They were coming for what they believed was theirs. As the clock ticked on, Linda's mind raced with thoughts of the bikers and their threats. They had made it clear that they expected protection money, and she knew they would return to collect. The memory of their sneering faces sent a shiver down her spine, but she pushed the fear aside. She had a duty to protect her community, and she would not let them down. Images of her son Ryan flashed through her mind. She remembered his training and how he had always emphasized the importance of staying calm in a crisis. He had taught her to think strategically and to trust her instincts. Linda considered calling him for help, but she hesitated. Ryan was far away, and she didn't want to worry him unnecessarily. This was her fight now, and she needed to show everyone that she could handle it. As she stood there, she felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She looked around at the faces of her friends and neighbors, people who had come together in solidarity against a common threat. They were counting on her to lead them through this challenge. The thought filled her with both pride and anxiety. Linda took a deep breath and began to strategize. She knew that preparation was key. They needed a plan for when the bikers returned. She gathered everyone close and started outlining what they would do if the Legion came back demanding money. They would stand firm together, showing that they would not be intimidated. The group discussed how to create barriers around the market, using whatever they could find to protect themselves and their stalls. They talked about forming a line of defense, standing shoulder to shoulder against any threats that might come their way. With each suggestion shared, Linda felt their resolve strengthen. As they prepared, the sounds of laughter and chatter from the nearby homes reminded Linda of what they were fighting for: their families, their livelihoods, their way of life. This was more than just about money. It was about standing up for what was right. The minutes ticked by slowly as they waited for the bikers to arrive. Linda's heart raced with every sound in the night: the rustle of leaves, the distant hum of cars, the soft whispers among her allies. Each noise heightened her senses. She was alert and ready. Just then, a low rumble echoed in the distance. The sound grew louder as motorcycles approached, shaking the ground beneath them. Linda's stomach tightened as she recognized that unmistakable roar of engines. This was it. They were here. The group fell silent as they braced themselves for what was about to unfold. Linda's heart pounded in her chest as she stood tall at the front of her united friends. This was a moment that would define them all. As the bikes rolled into view, headlights cutting through the darkness like knives, Linda felt a surge of adrenaline course through her veins. She reminded herself of Ryan's teachings: stay calm and focused. The bikers dismounted their motorcycles with an air of arrogance, swaggering toward the market like wolves approaching their prey. Linda could see their hardened expressions, menacing smiles that promised trouble. But she stood firm, refusing to back down or show fear. Her allies flanked her sides, their determination mirroring hers as they prepared for confrontation. The leader of the bikers stepped forward, his eyes scanning over Linda's group with disdain. He opened his mouth to speak words meant to intimidate, but Linda cut through his bravado with unwavering resolve. She held her ground as he demanded payment for protection, his voice dripping with condescension. The tension hung heavy in the air as everyone held their breath, waiting for Linda's response. In that moment, Memories of Ryan flooded back, his laughter during family dinners, his fierce spirit when he spoke about defending those he loved. Those memories fueled her strength as she prepared to respond. Linda took a step forward, feeling empowered by love for her community and family. She knew that this was not just about money, it was about standing up against fear itself. As she faced down the bikers with courage blazing in her heart, she realized that this moment would change everything, not just for herself but for everyone who called this place home. With every ounce of strength within her, Linda prepared to defend not only her market but also the spirit of resilience that united them all against those who sought to tear them apart. The battle lines were drawn. It was time to show them what true strength looked like, a strength born from love and unity that no intimidation could ever break. The tension in the air grew thick as Jake the Bull Thompson strode forward, his presence commanding and intimidating. He was a mountain of a man, known for his ruthless reputation. The other bikers flanked him, their eyes glinting with malice as they surveyed the scene. Linda felt her heart race, but she stood firm, refusing to let fear take hold. Jake's voice boomed across the market, dripping with disdain as he openly threatened Linda and her community. He made it clear that they would pay for protection or face dire consequences. The crowd behind Linda shifted uneasily, but she held her ground, her resolve unyielding. She could feel the weight of their eyes on her, and she knew she had to be their shield. As Jake continued to taunt her, Linda's mind raced with thoughts of how to respond. She thought of Ryan and the strength he had instilled in her. She remembered his lessons about facing challenges head-on and never backing down in the face of adversity. Those memories fueled her courage as she prepared to confront this bully. Just as tensions peaked and it felt like the moment would erupt into chaos, Linda's phone buzzed in her pocket. The unexpected sound cut through the thick atmosphere like a knife. She glanced down and saw Ryan's name flashing on the screen. Her heart leaped with surprise and hope. In that split second, everything seemed to freeze. The bikers paused, surprised by the distraction. Linda quickly answered the call, her voice steady despite the storm brewing around her. She could hear Ryan's voice on the other end, filled with urgency as he learned about the situation from local contacts. Linda felt a rush of relief wash over her as she listened to him speak. Ryan had always been her rock, and hearing his voice gave her strength. He urged her to stay calm and assured her that he was on his way back home. His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket, reminding her that she was not alone in this fight. As she spoke with Ryan, Linda glanced at Jake and the bikers standing before her. They were still there, still threatening, but now they seemed less intimidating. With Ryan's support just a phone call away, Linda felt emboldened. She relayed some of Ryan's advice to the crowd behind her: stay united and stand strong together. As she hung up the phone, she turned back to face Jake with renewed determination in her eyes. She would not let him intimidate them any longer. Jake sneered at Linda's newfound confidence, but it only fueled her resolve further. She spoke clearly and firmly, making it known that they would not pay for protection, nor would they bow down to threats. The crowd behind her began to rally together, their voices rising in agreement as they echoed Linda's sentiments. The bikers exchanged glances, their bravado wavering slightly as they realized that this community was no longer afraid. Linda could see doubt creeping into Jake's expression as he assessed the situation before him. Just then, a rumble echoed in the distance, the unmistakable sound of motorcycles approaching again. Linda's heart raced at the thought that Ryan was coming closer, bringing with him the strength of his training and experience. As the sound grew louder, Jake's demeanor shifted from confident to cautious. He glanced back at his crew, uncertainty flickering in his eyes for the first time since their arrival. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Everyone could feel that something was about to change. Linda stood tall at the forefront of her allies, ready to defend what mattered most, their community and their right to live without fear. The bikers were no longer just a threat, they were an obstacle standing between them and their freedom. With Ryan on his way and a united front behind her, Linda felt an overwhelming sense of power surge through her veins. This was no longer just about resisting intimidation, it was about reclaiming their lives from those who sought to control them. As Jake prepared to respond to this sudden shift in energy, Linda knew that this confrontation would determine everything for them all. The fight for their home had reached its climax, a moment where courage met intimidation head-on. The crowd around Linda tightened its formation as they readied themselves for whatever might come next. Together they stood strong against Jake the Bull Thompson and his gang, prepared to show them that love for family and community could overcome any threat. In that dramatic moment of confrontation, with tension hanging heavy in the air and motorcycles roaring closer in the distance, Linda understood that this battle was far from over, but she also knew that together they could face anything thrown their way. As they braced for what lay ahead, hope surged within them all, a powerful reminder that true strength comes from unity and love in times of darkness. As the roar of motorcycles grew louder, Linda felt a surge of adrenaline. The tension was thick, but she stood her ground, surrounded by her friends and neighbors. Just as Jake the Bull Thompson prepared to respond to her defiance, Linda's phone buzzed again in her pocket. It was Ryan's call, and without thinking, she answered it. In the heat of the moment, she couldn't help but quip, "You picked the wrong farmer's wife to mess with, my son's on speed dial." The word slipped out before she could stop herself. The unexpected humor caught everyone off guard. The crowd behind her erupted into nervous laughter, breaking the heavy tension that had filled the air just moments before. Jake's expression shifted from menace to confusion. He blinked, momentarily thrown off balance by Linda's unexpected bravado. The bikers around him exchanged glances, unsure of how to react to this sudden twist in the confrontation. Linda seized the moment, feeling a wave of confidence wash over her. The laughter from her allies spread like wildfire, lifting their spirits and reminding them that they were not alone in this fight. Linda could see that even Jake was taken aback by her boldness. It was as if her light-hearted comment had pierced through the darkness of intimidation. Ryan's voice crackled through the phone as he asked if everything was okay. Linda smiled despite the seriousness of the situation. She assured him that they were holding their ground and that she would be ready for whatever came next. The laughter had given her a renewed sense of strength, and she felt more empowered than ever. Jake scowled, but struggled to regain his composure. He opened his mouth to retort, but Linda cut him off again, this time with a playful tone. She gestured toward her community and declared that they were not afraid of him or his gang. Her words rang out with confidence, echoing in the hearts of those standing beside her. The crowd rallied behind her words, their laughter turning into cheers of support. They were ready to stand together against Jake and his crew, emboldened by Linda's unexpected humor and strength. In that moment, they transformed from a group of fearful individuals into a united front. Jake's bravado began to falter as he realized that his intimidation tactics were not working as planned. Linda could see doubt creeping into his eyes as he assessed the determination radiating from the community around her. They were no longer just farmers and vendors, they were fighters standing up for their home. Linda felt a spark of joy at this turn of events. She knew that humor could be a powerful weapon against fear and intimidation. With each laugh shared among her friends and neighbors, they fortified their resolve to protect what was theirs. As Ryan continued to speak on the phone, Linda felt a rush of gratitude for his support, even from afar. She knew he would be there soon, ready to join the fight if necessary. But for now, she felt strong enough to face Jake head-on. With renewed energy coursing through her veins, Linda turned back to Jake with a fierce smile. She reminded him that they would not back down or pay for protection, not now or ever. The crowd echoed her sentiments with shouts of agreement. Jake's expression hardened again as he tried to reassert his dominance, but it was clear that the tide had shifted. The bikers around him seemed less certain now, their confidence shaken by Linda's unexpected strength and humor. As they stood together in this pivotal moment, Linda realized that laughter had become their secret weapon, a reminder that even in the darkest times, they could find light together. They were stronger than any threat posed by Jake the Bull Thompson and his gang. With every passing second, Linda felt more empowered by the unity surrounding her. She knew that whatever happened next would define them all, but now she believed wholeheartedly that they could face it together. As Jake took a step forward to reassert himself once more, Linda stood tall at the forefront of her community, ready to fight not just for herself, but for everyone who called this place home. Their laughter still echoed in the air like a battle cry against fear, proof that love and unity could conquer even the most intimidating foes. In this unexpected twist of events, Linda understood one crucial truth: sometimes humor is just what you need to turn a tense situation into an opportunity for strength and resilience, a reminder that together they could face anything thrown their way. As Jake took another step forward, his face twisted in anger, the atmosphere crackled with tension once more. Linda felt her heart race, but she stood her ground, determination etched on her face. Just as it seemed like the confrontation would escalate, the unmistakable sound of motorcycles roared in the distance. The crowd turned their heads in unison, hope igniting within them. Linda's heart soared as she recognized the familiar rumble of Ryan's bike approaching. He was here, and with him came a wave of reassurance that washed over her like a warm embrace. The bikers paused, their bravado faltering as Ryan's motorcycle rolled into view, cutting through the darkness with its bright headlights. He dismounted swiftly, his presence commanding and full of authority. Linda felt a rush of relief and pride as she watched him stride toward her, ready to stand by her side. Jake's confidence wavered as Ryan approached, his eyes narrowing at the sight of the newcomer. The tension in the air shifted yet again, the balance of power was changing. Linda could see that Jake was no longer just facing her, he was now confronted with a united front, her and Ryan together. Ryan reached Linda's side, his expression serious but filled with understanding. He glanced at her and then turned to face Jake. The two men locked eyes, and in that moment, it was clear that Ryan was not afraid. He had heard about the situation from local contacts and had come prepared to defend their home. With Ryan's arrival, Linda felt a surge of strength flow through her. She knew that together they could face anything that came their way. The laughter that had filled the air moments before now transformed into a powerful sense of unity among everyone present. Ryan spoke with calm authority, addressing Jake directly. His words were measured but firm, reinforcing everything Linda had said earlier about standing together against intimidation. The community behind them rallied in support, their voices rising in agreement as they echoed Ryan's sentiments. Jake's bravado began to crumble under the weight of this united front. He glanced back at his gang, who were now uncertain and hesitant. The laughter and strength of Linda's community had shifted the dynamic entirely. As Ryan continued to speak, Linda felt immense pride swell within her heart. This was not just about her anymore, it was about family and community coming together to protect what mattered most. They were no longer just individuals standing alone, they were a force to be reckoned with. Realizing he was losing control of the situation, Jake took a step back, his expression darkening. The bikers around him shifted uneasily, sensing that their leader's power was slipping away. Linda could see fear creeping into their ranks as they faced not just Ryan but the collective strength of everyone present. In that moment of clarity, Jake made a decision to retreat rather than escalate further. He turned on his heel and motioned for his gang to follow him. As they mounted their motorcycles and revved their engines, Linda felt a wave of triumph wash over her. The bikers roared off into the night, leaving behind an air of uncertainty and defeat. The crowd erupted into cheers as they realized they had stood strong against intimidation and won. Linda turned to Ryan, who smiled at her with pride shining in his eyes. They embraced tightly, feeling the warmth of family bonds that had carried them through this challenge together. As they pulled apart, Linda looked around at her community, faces filled with joy and relief. They had come together in a moment of crisis and emerged victorious. It was a powerful reminder that true strength lies in unity and resilience. In that moment of celebration, Linda understood that this experience had forged deeper connections among them all, neighbors who had become friends and allies through adversity. They had faced fear head-on and emerged stronger than ever. As night fell over Louisiana's farmers' market, Linda reflected on everything that had transpired, the laughter that had broken tension, the strength found in family bonds, and the unwavering spirit of community resilience. They had proven that when people stand together against adversity, they can overcome even the most daunting challenges. With hearts full of hope and determination for whatever lay ahead, Linda knew that this was just the beginning for them all, a new chapter marked by courage and unity against any threat that might come their way in the future. They were ready to face it together, stronger than ever before. In the shadows of their celebration lay deeper questions about justice, fairness, and the rule of law. In a quiet corner of the market, a figure emerged, a judge who had been observing the events unfold. He had seen the confrontation between Linda and Jake the Bull Thompson from a distance, and now he stepped forward to share his thoughts. The crowd hushed, eager to hear his insights. The judge began by reflecting on the legal implications of what had transpired. He noted that while Linda and her community acted out of necessity to protect themselves, their actions raised important moral questions about how far one should go to defend their home. He acknowledged that the law often struggles to balance individual rights with collective safety. He spoke about the complexities of legal decision-making. Every case is unique, shaped by its circumstances and the motivations of those involved. The judge emphasized that personal biases can influence judgments, making it essential for those in positions of power to remain impartial. He reminded everyone that justice is not always black and white, it often exists in shades of gray. As he analyzed the character's motivations, he highlighted Linda's courage and determination. She had stood up against intimidation not just for herself, but for her entire community. Her actions were driven by love and loyalty, qualities that are often overlooked in legal discussions. The judge pointed out that these emotions are powerful forces that shape human behavior and decision-making. He then turned his attention to Jake and his gang. Their threats represented a challenge to societal norms and values, an attempt to impose fear where there should be safety. The judge explained that such behavior often stems from deeper societal issues, including power dynamics and inequality. Understanding these factors is crucial for addressing the root causes of conflict. The judge reflected on what was learned from this situation. He emphasized that communities must come together to protect one another, especially in times of crisis. The strength found in unity can serve as a powerful deterrent against those who seek to exploit fear for personal gain. He also discussed how this event might affect future cases or societal norms. The judge noted that when communities stand together against injustice, they set a precedent for others to follow. This collective action can inspire change within legal systems, pushing for reforms that prioritize fairness and justice for all. Drawing on relevant legal precedents, the judge cited cases where community resilience played a pivotal role in shaping outcomes. He reminded everyone that history has shown us time and again that when people unite for a common cause, they can challenge unjust systems and create lasting change. As he concluded his analysis, the judge underscored the importance of perspective in understanding truth and justice. Each person involved in this story brought their own experiences and biases into play, shaping their understanding of what was right or wrong. He encouraged everyone to consider multiple viewpoints as they navigate complex issues in life. With his final words, the judge left the community with a powerful message: true justice requires empathy, understanding, and a commitment to standing together against adversity. Linda felt a renewed sense of purpose as she absorbed his insights. She knew that their fight was not just about protecting their market, but about fostering a culture of support and resilience. As the crowd began to disperse, Linda looked around at her friends and neighbors, people who had come together in a moment of crisis and emerged stronger than ever. They were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with newfound knowledge about justice, community, and the power of unity. In that moment, she understood that their journey was just beginning, a journey marked by courage, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to standing up for one another in the face of adversity. Together they would continue to build a future where love prevailed over fear, a legacy worth fighting for. Linda stood in the heart of the Louisiana farmers' market, surrounded by her community. The celebration was still buzzing around her, but she felt a deeper understanding settling within. This experience had changed them all, forging connections that would last far beyond this moment. They had faced fear together and emerged stronger, and now it was time to reflect on the lessons learned. The first point that emerged in her mind was about unity. The community had come together to stand against intimidation, proving that when people join forces, they can face any challenge. Linda realized that strength comes not just from individuals, but from the bonds they share. The key takeaway from this was that togetherness is powerful. When faced with adversity, leaning on one another can create a formidable force. Linda thought about how they could continue to build those connections moving forward. The lesson here was to nurture relationships within the community. It was essential to keep communication open and support one another, especially during difficult times. Linda made a mental note to organize regular gatherings where everyone could come together, share stories, and strengthen their bonds. The action prompt was clear: create a community calendar with events designed to foster unity, potlucks, game nights, or volunteer days. These activities would help maintain the connections formed during this crisis and ensure they remain strong in the future. The second point that stood out was about courage. Linda had witnessed firsthand how bravery could inspire others. When she stood up to Jake and refused to back down, it sparked courage in her neighbors. They found their voices and stood alongside her. The key takeaway here was that courage is contagious. One person's bravery can ignite a spark in others, leading to collective action. Linda understood that by continuing to model courage in her own life, she could encourage others to do the same. The lesson learned was to embrace vulnerability. It takes strength to show vulnerability, but doing so can encourage others to open up as well. Linda resolved to share her fears and challenges with her community, creating an environment where everyone felt safe to express themselves. The action prompt was simple: start a courage circle where people could share their stories of bravery and vulnerability. This would create a safe space for everyone to connect on a deeper level and inspire each other. The third point revolved around the importance of communication. Throughout the confrontation with the bikers, clear communication had been vital. Linda realized that sharing information and strategies helped them stay organized and united. The key takeaway here was that effective communication fosters trust. When people feel informed and included, they are more likely to work together harmoniously. Linda thought about how they could improve communication channels within the community. The lesson learned was to encourage open dialogue among neighbors. It was important for everyone to feel heard and valued. Linda decided to implement regular community meetings where everyone could voice their thoughts and concerns. The action prompt was clear: set up a community newsletter or social media group where updates could be shared easily. This would ensure everyone stayed informed about events, issues, and opportunities for involvement. The fourth point focused on resilience. The community had shown incredible resilience in the face of adversity. They didn't just react, they adapted and grew stronger together. The key takeaway from this experience was that resilience builds character. Overcoming challenges not only strengthens individuals, but also fortifies communities as a whole. Linda felt proud of what they had accomplished together. The lesson learned here was to celebrate small victories along the way. Acknowledging progress helps maintain motivation and encourages continued effort in facing challenges ahead. The action prompt was straightforward: create a victory board in the market, where people could post achievements, big or small, that highlighted their resilience as a community. Finally, the fifth point centered on the power of love and support. Throughout this ordeal, love for family and community had been the driving force behind their actions. It had fueled their determination and provided comfort during uncertain times. The key takeaway here was that love is a powerful motivator. When people fight for what they care about most, they can overcome incredible obstacles together. The lesson learned was to cultivate an atmosphere of support within the community. It was essential for everyone to feel valued and cared for as they moved forward together. The action prompt became clear: establish a buddy system, pairing up neighbors who could check in on each other regularly, especially during tough times, to ensure no one felt alone. As Linda reflected on these points, she felt a profound sense of purpose wash over her. Each lesson learned from this experience would guide them into the future, a future filled with hope, unity, courage, effective communication, resilience, and love. With these thoughts in mind, she looked around at her friends and neighbors celebrating their victory together, a vibrant tapestry of lives intertwined through shared experiences, and knew that this moment marked not just an end, but a beautiful beginning for them all as they prepared for whatever lay ahead.